wasn't your decision to leave Ferrari, but it was your decision to go back to Sauber. So just talk us through why you're doing that.
Why not?
And you're still passionate about racing. The fire is still.
No, I don't. I'm not actually. I'm just by pure head games for you guys. I happen to sign, and I'm gonna spend 2 years there. Just not being happy about that. Yeah.
Alrighty, welcome to the Drivers Only podcast. I'm Joe.
I'm David.
And this is episode 109. David, how are you today?
Good.
Good. So we have some big news in the Formula One world. Oops, sorry, I just hit my mic. If you guys heard that, I apologize. If you didn't, it didn't happen. That's like the tree falling in the woods thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm fine then. But big Formula One news, Kimi Raikkonen is no longer with Ferrari. Initial thoughts? I won't announce any other moves until that. That's just...
Not surprised.
Okay. I'm a little surprised, just because of how well he's been racing for them.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think.
I mean, we did say last week this was supposed to be announced last week, and then he got on pole and kind of screwed the pooch for Ferrari's plans. At least he messed
temporarily.
Yeah, he messed up the timing on it. But,
yeah.
So Kimi is no longer with Ferrari. Quickly announced after that was Charles Leclerc is officially joining Vettel in the seat for 2019. Not shocking. Charles Leclerc looks to be as well as you can gauge somebody in F2. He looks to be a world champion, an eventual world champion.
I thought he was with Sauber, wasn't he?
Or Sauber, I'm sorry, not F2. Yeah, as much as you can gauge somebody in a lesser car, effectively, is where I'm getting at. I thought that was wrong when I said it.
Yeah, I was like, well, maybe I'm way off, but
no, thank you for correcting me. But yeah, as much as you can gauge off of somebody in a lesser car, he appears to have world championship talent. So I get
I
the
agree.
move.
Especially, I remember watching him race in Germany. I was pretty impressed. He had some awkward moments, but he seems more. I feel like when we talk about this stuff, it's cyclical sometimes because we've said this before about other drivers and they've totally proved us wrong. But he seems mature.
Yeah, he does. He seems very consistent, and he doesn't seem as eager to back down to whoever he's racing against as some of these other kids.
But still, races very clean.
Yeah, he does. He's not Max Verstappen-esque.
Yeah.
That's
why I was hesitant. I don't want to be like, wow, he's a great driver, super mature, and then he crashes into everybody once he gets in a Ferrari.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it happening. It's possible. I just don't see that happening.
I hope not.
Keep talking for a second. I gotta adjust my mic.
Okay, sure. But no, I'm pretty impressed with the way he drives. I'm not surprised at all. I think we all saw it coming, being on the baby team for Ferrari. It makes sense for him to move up, and I've thought it's been time for Kimi to sort of step down for a while, and I can understand him wanting to stay in Formula One, with Ferrari, but honestly, like, I don't know.
Before we continue, Kimi announced to drive with Sauber.
Yes,
sorry, go ahead.
Surprise. And I understand him wanting to stay in Formula One, but I don't know. At a certain point, you just got to call it quits. Like, this isn't like for fun driving. This is serious.
There's a couple of points there. One, I think the statement that Kimi, it was time for Kimi to leave Ferrari. I don't agree. There's not any evidence that Kimi is driving worse than Sebastian Vettel this year. There's evidence that the team is catering to Vettel and getting Vettel the points because he's the number one driver, as a team should. But Kimi has been as fast as Vettel everywhere. He's had a little bit of worse luck here and there. Yeah. He's not as fast on a single lap pace in qualifying.
I was going to say, I think he's consistently slower.
But every race, he's right there. There's several races this year that he could have won.
Yeah.
And the team called him off and moved Vettel up, or some variation of that, which is fine. I'm not having a problem with the team orders. What I'm having a problem with is that Kimi is not. It's not his fault for where he is, because I think he drove as well as you could ask. I was about to say drove the doors off the car, but there isn't doors. Yeah. I think he's driven as well as you can ask a number two driver to drive, if not better. He's a better number two than any of the top three teams have.
I mean, that I agree with, yeah.
So he's as good. I mean, and the only reason I say that is because Daniel Ricciardo is not really a number 2. And the number 2 that's coming into the team is Pierre Gasly, and Pierre Gasly is not as good as Kimi Raikkonen. So, it's it's one of those things. The perfect position, or the perfect person, 3 legs, 4 wheels. I've said this several times. The perfect person to replace Kimi every year is Kimi Raikkonen, because he does exactly what you ask of him. I get the timeliness of getting somebody out of the way, though, so you can move up Charles Leclerc. My only thing that I don't understand, and perhaps we talked about this a little bit before, a couple of episodes ago, perhaps the internal politics caused an issue, but why would you not move Charles Leclerc to Haas this year and then Ferrari next year? Run again, a little bit better car this year, show us you can do this instead of going full-blown commitment. I mean, he looks like he's going to be that good. But Gunther Steiner at Haas has blocked Ferrari from putting temporary drivers in there. I think it was not Rossi. He's still with the team with Ferrari in some way, shape, or form. I'm blanking on his name. It'll come to me eventually, I hope. But anyway, they blocked him from driving for Haas simply as a kind of a positional stay until Ferrari can make use of him. But if there's no internal politics like that were causing an issue, I don't understand the move all the way up to Ferrari right away. I'd rather see him in a slightly better car, see what he can do. Has he shown improvement? Okay, cool. Now move him up to Ferrari. But maybe I'm a little more patient than most.
I can see both sides. I don't really know what's the right way or the wrong way. If they see talent in somebody, I understand. But when you have, that side of it, I understand. But when you have somebody like Sebastian Vettel, I don't really think it's necessary.
Now, here's an interesting thing. Do you think Ferrari's starting to question Vettel a little bit?
No.
Vettel for 2 years in a row, this year being the second year, has had as good, if not a more superior car to Lewis Hamilton.
Okay.
And he seems to be falling apart at the end of the season. He's not winning the world championship. At what point do you kind of go, do we give up on him?
I think he's had some bad luck, and he's made some mistakes.
I think Alonso would have won a world championship with this Ferrari car.
Yes. I think Vettel has these temporary lapses where, how do I say this? Lewis Hamilton, I think, even though he cries like a baby, he does well in adverse situations, even though all he does is complain.
He vocalizes it in a very childish manner, but he drives in a very adult manner.
Yes. Yeah. Whereas Vettel, I feel like, unless everything's perfect, he sort of he makes mistakes. He falls apart, like stupid mistakes. Almost like he wasn't focused, like in Monza, Like, I know that was a racing incident, but as a driver contending for the world championship, you should really try to avoid first lap incidents like that.
Right, especially when your teammate is leading the race.
Yeah, like that's a rule number 2.
If
after don't hit your teammate.
Right. If Bottas was leading the race and Vettel made the move that he made at Monza, I'd probably be more okay with it. But because Kimi was leading the race, it's like, dude, they would have swapped you. Yeah. They would have moved you over, or moved Kimi over at some point. You would have ended up in the lead. So all you had to do was find a way past. You could have undercut Hamilton and made it work. I mean, that's you could have passed him in strategy.
Yeah.
Later in the race, but obviously that's a spur of the moment kind of thing. It's so much easier for us to say should have done this than
we were not in the driver's seat. Maybe it looked totally different, but and look at Germany, another stupid mistake.
Yeah.
It's not that. I don't know. At a certain point, mistakes are mistakes, but when you string them together, all of a sudden it's like, that's what I'm saying. What are you doing here?
Do you think Ferrari's sitting here looking at Vettel and going, maybe we should get Charles Leclerc and start putting our chips in his corner and seeing what we can get out of him? If we can groom him into a 3, 4, 5-time world champion.
If they are, they're really thinking of that as a sort of insurance policy more so than really gambling,
No, yeah, I agree. I'm not saying that they're giving up on Vettel this year. I think what they're doing is using Vettel to show Leclerc how to be a world champion, and then they're going to dump Vettel in a couple of years. maybe when the contract's up, just not re-sign Vettel. I don't know.
I can see that. I mean,
Which would
that's
be crazy, because where would Vettel go?
he can't go to Red Bull. I mean, maybe.
No,
I
he's
don't know.
not. No, he's definitely not going back to Red Bull. I don't think he would.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's tricky. I don't think there's a right answer sometimes for that, but I can see Ferrari doing it. Yes.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't agree with it personally.
No, I mean it's
the Ferrari. They like to change over personnel. I mean, that's what got them to where they are now. You know, is
if they I mean
when something's not working, they change it.
Right. I agree. Well, I mean, if they were more patient with Kimi might have had more world championships. If they were more patient with Alonso, they would definitely have more world championships.
Yep.
I mean, Alonso, don't forget, it was what, 3 or 4 years ago? No, it wouldn't have been that long, because he was with McLaren. He's now in his third year with McLaren. So 4 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
I still remember that race at Hungary when he held off Daniel Ricciardo, and Alonso had absurdly old tires in a slower Ferrari than the Red Bull that year, and he held him off for lap after lap after lap after lap. It's like that driver is going to win world championships for you if you get the car under him. Well, they have the car now, but they don't appear to have the driver to win the world championship.
Yeah.
Maybe Vettel can do it. I think he's 30 points back now. And you're going into Singapore, which is going to be a much more Ferrari-esque track than Monza or Spa were. Now, granted, they split those, but still, it should cater to Ferrari. It has previously. Just don't run into each other and Max on lap 1 and cause like a 10-car incident.
You know, but hey,
like last year.
See, that's the thing though. It's like nobody wants to hear the boring stuff, but like that's what you need to do. You just need to drive consistently. You know, get through the first couple laps without hitting anybody, and then you run your own race, and they have the pace in the car, and especially at Monza. That's the reason, it was such a stupid mistake. It's like, dude, you have home field advantage for whatever that's worth. You're at Monza, so you've got the pace in the car. Yeah. Why take the risk? It's like Le Mans this year when one of the P1 cars, non-hybrids, made a crazy move at the start of the race and hit one of the Toyotas. Nothing came of it, but it still was like, why would you take that risk?
Yeah, no,
I agree. It's the first lap of a 24-hour race,
and especially so on now. Granted, we'll see after qualifying, and this theory could go straight out the window, and if qualifying ends up in a different manner. But if Ferrari has someone, whether it's Kimi or Vettel, in position 1 or position 2, either one of them, like on the front row of the grid to start the race, and the other one is directly behind them in third, you need somebody in third and then someone in first or second. If that's the case, I would tell the damn drivers, just go out there and drive, because now you've got the undercut available. Because that fourth place guy does not have as big of an effect on 2 and 3 as 2 and 3 do on 1.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, just go out there and drive. You're going to have the faster car in theory around the track.
Yep.
Maybe Hamilton pulled something out of his ass in qualifying. We'll see. It's a common thing. So it wouldn't shock me to see. It never shocks me to see Hamilton on pole.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what Grand Prix it is. But no, I mean, it's just go out there, drive casually, be safe, be fast, but be safe, be casual, and let strategy win you some of these races. You've got to find something. You've got to win some race here. I know they just won Spa, but they're losing a world championship that should be theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it comes down to the drivers more than it does the team.
I mean, the cars are relatively equal footing this year, especially now.
I think the Ferrari's a better car. I think Hamilton would walk away with the world championship in that Ferrari.
I don't know.
And I would not have said that at the beginning of the year.
No, but I think we have pretty good parity right now, because if it's going one way or the other, you don't know who's going to take pole. Maybe it's the Mercedes, maybe it's the Ferrari. Before it was like, it's definitely going to be the Mercedes unless something happens. And now it's sort of going either way. You're going to have cars that are stronger on certain circuits than others. And that's why it kind of makes me laugh sometimes when, people are like, oh, well, the Ferrari was really quick this week. The car must be better, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, yes, but
it's entirely possible that this track suited that vehicle. Yeah,
exactly.
No, I agree.
And they build these cars for the majority of the tracks. They do not build that's why everybody sucks at Monaco, because it's the only track like that. So nobody builds their car to be quick at Monaco.
Right.
Wouldn't
it be fun to see one of these smaller teams, like a Sauber, before they got bought out by Ferrari, and they were absolutely useless, or Marussia or somebody like that, build the fastest Monaco car and win Monaco every year, but do nothing else.
That'd be pretty funny.
Well, and the interesting thing is, so let's say they do that, right? Let's say they build the fastest car for Monaco, and they get 25 points for a victory.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they even get somebody else in the points. You know, they might get 2 cars in the points. Do you ever remember Marussia scoring 25 points?
No.
I mean, I'm not saying that they would win it. It's not a guarantee. But if you're building your car and you get a double points finish,
That's true.
in one race of the year, I remember Marussia finishing with like 1 or 2 points on the season.
Yeah.
So
You're better off doing that.
Right. I mean, maybe
It's pretty funny.
I might be onto something. Anyway, but yeah, that's pretty much the Formula One news. So, like I said, just to recap it, you've got Kimi has left Ferrari, Charles Leclerc has moved up into Ferrari, and Kimi has gone back to where he started at Sauber. The one thing I did want to say when you said I didn't understand the move to Sauber, it's where he started, and he said that. He's like, it's kind of I don't think he said it's a dream come true, but something along those kind of lines where he's like, it's really nice to be back where it all began. I'm like, okay, I get that. For 2 years, I get that.
I didn't know that.
He'll be 40 when the contract's up. If he retires, then fine. I don't think. I mean, that Sauber is not that bad right now that it couldn't find a way to get a podium in a shenanigans race. Like I'm thinking like Baku
Like
2
Hockenheim.
years ago or Hockenheim
Yeah.
You know, just things happening, and all of a sudden Kimi's like, hey, I'm back on the podium in a Sauber.
Yeah.
So it's not a terrible car anymore.
I understand it a little bit more knowing that fact, but the thing with Kimi is I just don't think, I understand that's not how it works. He has tremendous value as a driver to a team, but I don't know if, this sport really should be for people hungry for a world championship, and I don't care what he says. I know he's passionate about racing. I do not think he's really... I don't think he could win a world championship.
Kimi?
Yeah.
Well, he's got one.
I know, but now, I don't think he could do it now.
I think had they made him number 1 this year, he would have at least as many points as Vettel does.
I just don't see it. He just doesn't have that last
I don't think they let
couple
him.
percent.
I don't think they let him.
Really? Why?
I would have agreed with you before I watched what I just watched at Monza. But he drove the damn wheels off that car trying to get, and maybe it's because it's been X amount of podiums since having a race victory. It's been a long time since he's had the last one. I think he was with Lotus the last time he won a race.
Yeah.
So and he's in the second or the best car on the grid.
Mm-hmm.
I get the drive to go find a race win. I understand the push for that. And maybe that's what it was. But after watching what I watched last weekend, he took pole, drove the damn tires to cords essentially because of poor tire strategy from Ferrari, and they came in second. And he's just, dude, he's got like 7 podiums in the last 8 races or something, like some absurd amount of podiums in the last handful of races. If he turns a couple of those into victories, and those are victories that Seb's won too. Seb's got a handful of wins in there where Raikkonen's either in second or third. If you just flip-flop the drivers, I don't see any reason that Kimi isn't as good as Seb this year. Last year I agree with you. This year he looks as good if not better, given the circumstances. Because it's obviously his results aren't better. He's not the number 1 driver.
Let me put it this way. I believe Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel go out on the track thinking they're going to win the world championship this year. That's their goal.
I don't think Kimi goes out on the track thinking.
But I don't think he goes out on the track believing that he wants to win the world championship. I think his attitude is like, I'll go out there. I love racing. I want to win a few races. And he's sort of content with that. I don't see him being that I will, that main drive.
You don't think that would change if the team made it known to you are number 1 driver?
I don't know.
I think it would. I think being made the number 2 is going to naturally inhibit some of your.
Then you got to prove yourself that you're the number 1.
That was never going to happen. It was never going to happen with Seb there. Even because
Seb's been shown up before.
Yeah, that was a weird year with Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah.
That was a weird year.
Still.
I think if Daniel Ricciardo joined Ferrari this year, or for next year rather, I don't think Seb lets Ricciardo beat him. I don't think it's going to be the drubbing that you saw at Red Bull. I thought that's a weird year. I agree with you. Ricciardo looked better, but it was a weird year.
I would have liked to see Ricciardo at Ferrari.
I would have too. It would have been fun.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the Tifosi rooting for him?
Oh my God.
Would have been great. Anyway, we'll move on to the next subject because those of you that don't like Formula One are probably bored out of your minds. So we will move to Panoz. Those of you that don't know, Dr. Don Panoz did pass away this past week, and obviously all of our condolences go to his family. He was a big impact on the entire racing world, especially the endurance racing aspect. So there's an article here from Marshall Pruitt, just kind of at Road and Track, excuse me. Not necessarily. It's not a whole lifetime achievement type of article that you would expect to see. It's talking about his most ambitious race car, which I think is a kind of a different and cool way to look at this.
Which
this
one?
situation.
The Esperante GT1?
This is Understanding Don Panoz Through His Most Ambitious Race Car is the title of the article. 20 years before hybrids came to a normal sight at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, Dr. Don Panoz pursued an ambitious experiment with the hybrid-powered Q9.
I have no idea what this is.
I've never heard of this vehicle until this article. So you can see it. It's kind of a cool livery in a weird, terrible, like 80s way, but
That's the Esperante, but a hybrid version.
yeah. So the essence of Dr. Don Panoz is found in the Q9 Le Mans Challenger. Fresh into the world of motor racing, the late pharmaceutical billionaire ignored his sports conventions wandering down usual paths fed his innate curiosity. Lost this week at 83, the man had a singular calling. We can find deep insights into his way of thinking in grossly unsuccessful gas-electric Q9 hybrid prototype, an early Panoz racing experiment from 1998. Starting with the 1997 front-engine Panoz Esperante GTR1 race car, Dr. Don's Q9 design rejected the standard practice of building a sports prototype with the engine mounted midship. His son Danny's low-volume Panoz car company made a boutique front-engine roadsters that served as underpinnings for much of what Dr. Don would pursue in the sport. Wisdom be damned, the GTR1, the Q9, and its immediate successors would all feature front-engine designs like Danny's cars. Panoz spent his way to competitiveness. That's a weird way to write that. Against the giant auto manufacturers and lead their sleek rear-engine solutions, and his insistence on fielding race cars that look like their road-going versions gifted us with some unforgettable machines to behold. With the Q9, a creation somewhat lovingly dubbed Sparky, Panoz showed us his mission statement. If big, roaring Ford V8 caged beneath the GTR1 mile-long hood wasn't enough of a middle finger to its European competitors, Panoz delighted in mixing retro propulsion with cutting-edge technology. So there's some specifications here that I think will be interesting. It's a carbon fiber monocoque chassis, wheelbase of 104 inches with a total length of 182 inches. That's a lot of overhang. That's almost 80 inches of overhang.
That's what happens when you got a big splitter.
Width of 75 inches, a height of 40 inches. The track front was 61.8 inches and the rear was 60.2. The weight was 1,100 kilos, so 2,200 pounds. I think that's right.
Yep.
Isn't it? Yeah. Independent wishbone pushrod, suspension front and rear, Michelin Pilot radials as tires. Front was 18 by 10.5, rear with 18 by 12.5. The brakes are AP Racing 6-piston 2-pad calipers, front and rear, on 15-inch Carbon Industries vented discs. Shocks were by Penske. Powertrain was a Ford aluminum block, overhead valved V8 engine, single brushless DC electric motor generator connected via gearbox to rear drive shaft. Quote, Varda nickel metal hydrate batteries.
I have no idea what that means.
I don't either. So that engine would have been... I mean, that wasn't anything that was featured in a road car, was it? It's not like the Terminator engine without the blower.
The Ford engine?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
That was strictly a race car at that time. 6 liters.
No, that was nothing.
Approximately 650 horsepower on demand with electric motor and generator producing 30% assist. Torque at 500 pounds-feet. Induction system is a Zytec cross-ram fuel injection, and the transmission was the Panoz X-Track 6-speed sequential. Through the specialist UK firm Zytec, Panoz broke new ground by fitting a monstrous battery pack and electric motor to the GTR1, christened the Q9, and headed to the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the first of its kind. The Panoz hybrid prototype arrived at Le Sarthe 2 decades before the event organizers would summon the courage to add hybrid systems as compulsory items for the marquee prototype class. As history has ably documented, the Q9 has everything, or was everything but successful. Dreadfully overweight, thanks to the 200-pound battery pack and associated hybrid components, the car lacked outright pace when it was halted by severe electrical problems. It failed to qualify for the race, but as many pioneering creations have done, the Q9's shortcomings would prove key insights on how to improve the use of hybrids in competition. That's where we return to the brilliance of Dr. Don Panoz. The marriage of the GTR1 and the hybrid electric systems that followed, we'd probably understand his backwards approach to forward thinking. Rock steady in his front engine ethos, Panoz was determined to prove the old ways, to prove the old, proven ways of the past could be relevant in modern times. And despite clinging to anchors of history, he would not stop until the next generation technology was brought forth in one of his vehicles, even if it wasn't quite ready for prime time. Panoz applied the same formula to the drowning IMSA sports car series as he purchased late in the 1990s, relaunched as the American Le Mans series. He moored the once proud IMSA organization in throwback ideology. His motto, "For the fans," could be perceived as trite, but it was a rallying cry for the sport needed after years of infighting between rival series that almost killed the sports car racing in North America. A simple commitment to place the fans first helped the ALMS become the golden example, all that can be achieved in motor racing. As far too many series today continue to search for bigger and more dedicated audiences, Panos' ALMS product deserves close study by sanctioning bodies whose cars or drivers are veering towards irrelevance. And like the Q9, Panoz put movement behind new technologies to elevate the ALMS to new heights. Although the early attempts were occasionally bereft of success, his funding of the ALMS radio web, precursor to today's IMSA radio, staffed by Radio Le Mans crew, connected the world to his series via the internet a lifetime ago. Live streaming of practice and qualifying sessions also took the ALMS to new online places where other domestic series had not ventured. Panoz possessed that remarkable trait owned by Dan Gurney, Smokey Eunuch, Harry Miller, and a precious few others in our sport. He wasn't afraid to fail. Grand dreams, some vastly overambitious, were his hallmark, and in most cases his bravery made our motorsport better. Panos' fearlessness changed how we think about racing. There's no turning back from that. Pretty solid article. I mean, it's really well written. I think it's a great tribute to Dr. Don and what he did for endurance racing, and it's kind of cool to see a car like that. I'd never even heard of the damn thing.
I've never heard of that either. I knew about the GTR1 because I remember I used to have a Hot Wheel of that car when I thought it was super cool.
Oh, really? I mean, I didn't know about it until, because I didn't follow endurance racing at that time. I really wasn't big into racing in general at that age. But obviously we used it a lot in Forza when we would play. Yeah. Probably 8 years ago or something like that, whenever we were playing Forza 3 or 4. Like that. I know. Makes you feel old, doesn't it? But no, that was a fun car to race with, and it always, it's funny because they write about it in this article as, hey, that's a goofy car. Yeah. And that's kind of what it was in Forza as well. Like when you're driving it, you're like, oh, you got the Panoz. Yeah. It's just a weird car. Yeah. But it's cool. I mean, it's great tribute to Dr. Don and what he did for endurance racing, and definitely well written. Thank you, Marshall Pruitt, for that one. I don't really have anything else to add on there. No. We can move on. I
think he was also involved with the Delta Wing, I think, but there was a lot of controversy about that.
There was a lot of people involved with the Delta Wing.
Yeah, it was kind of a mess.
I'm so bummed that thing didn't win.
I hated it.
I know. Okay. I did too.
Why are you bummed?
Because it's weird. It's so ridiculous. You feel like, could you imagine a DeLorean race car? That'd be the equivalent. It'd be absolutely stupid.
I'd be okay with a DeLorean race car.
What's wrong with the Delta Wing?
It's stupid looking.
Yeah, but see, here's why I like the Delta Wing. So it's a stupid car. Yeah, grant you that. But here's why I like the Delta Wing. Name me one other car within the last 20 years that has tried to push the boundaries of what is used to being a race car. We haven't seen innovation or random attempts at things like that since 60s, 70s, 80s. when we were seeing weird things like jet engine cars and stuff like that. It's
I-
nice
yeah.
to see some attempts.
I agree. I like the spirit of it. The execution,
Okay.
no.
Okay, I'll grant you that. Point stipulated. You won that one. That's fair. So we'll move on to the next article, this one by Brian Silvestro and Chris Perkins. Volkswagen is canceling the Beetle in 2019. Volkswagen today announced the production of the current third-generation Beetle will end in July 2019 with a special...
Third generation.
Yes. With a special final edition trim shown above, serving as the model's send-off. Here you go, David. This is what it looks like. It's either beige with a black roof or blue with a beige roof.
I'm sorry, I even looked.
So the story was originally published on March 7th of 2018 when VW first confirmed it was planning to kill the Beetle. It was updated on September 13th, 2018 with the announcement of the final edition commemorative model. Okay, so apparently we just missed the ball.
Oh.
But, okay, whatever. Excuse me.
This is huge, though.
It is a big deal, yeah. Introduced in 2011, the current Beetle is only the third generation of the model, based on the front-wheel drive platform of the Mark V. Really? Oh, 6. Mark 6, excuse me. I was going to say, I thought it was Mark 6. Platform of the Mark 6 Golf. It was followed the so-called new Beetle, which was in production from 97 to 2011. In a statement, Volkswagen Group of America head Heinrich Volbecken? Yeah, Heinrich Volbecken. Reflected on the end of this icon while providing some hope for the Beetle's possible return as an electric car.
Sorry.
Quote, the loss of the Beetle after 3 generations over nearly 7 decades will evoke a host of emotions from the Beetle's many devoted fans. As we move to being in full-line, family-focused automaker in the United States and ramp up our electrification strategy with the MEB platform, there are no immediate plans to replace it. But, as we have seen with the ID Buzz, I'm assuming he's referring to the IDR, which is a modern practical interpretation of the legendary Buzz, I would say no, never say never. The ID Buzz that Volbecken refers to is the VW's upcoming retro-inspired minivan. Oh, okay. Set to be built in the brand's new electric car platform. Is this thing... Hang on, there's a link here.
Is this stuff real?
What the... Wow! Wow! Sorry for just maxing the mic there. I was...
Hey, Volkswagen's desperate, man. When a company starts appealing to the retro side,
I'm sorry. I can't help but laugh. I'm sorry. When was this article written? And I missed this. August 19th, 2017. So a year ago, we missed this. Confirmed electric VW microbus coming in 2022. So
honestly, I think the idea of it's cool, but the image that they created.
The best part about it is the concept vehicle has 2 surfboards.
They know their audience.
It's also got a square steering wheel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, look at the picture here.
That's a little weird.
I'm sorry if this seems like a little bit of an overreaction. I've never seen this. This is just my genuine bewilderment to this thing. Okay, so apparently there's those of you that have not seen this vehicle, you absolutely have to go find it.
It's like the old VW buses, but like a modern concept
electric
version.
VW microbus concept. It's horrible. Okay, so back to the bug. I'm sorry. The ID Buzz Volbecken refers to as the VW's upcoming retro-inspired minivan, set to be built on the brand's new car electric platform last year. Last year, VW's Herbert Diess said he would consider making a new Beetle using this platform. VW's first electric car, the ID hatchback, would arrive. Okay, what the hell does this look like? Should arrive in 2020. And why are all their cars called the ID? Okay, that's just a really, really ugly, like, Golf Scirocco Polo thing. That's... Jesus. Anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah, so nonetheless, there's some rumors that this may become an electric vehicle along with the rest of their electric line, which appears to be called ID for some reason. They are killing the Beetle, which means that the only thing you should pull out of this entire article is go buy a Beetle, because the value is going to increase.
I don't think that's no.
That's
No.
That's the best I can come up with.
I don't think that's sound advice.
I never give not sound advice.
You know they made 20 million Beatles, right?
You're lying to yourself.
I'm just saying.
No, you're lying to yourself. No, they're gonna increase the value. Solid.
Okay, all right.
Not
Maybe
a
there's
lot.
like
not
a
a lot. I mean, you might make a couple bucks off it.
Okay.
But okay, last article of the night
Hold on. Can we just reflect a little bit?
about how stupid that
No.
looks.
Let's just think about Hitler's KDF wagon made it pretty far.
It's impressive, yeah.
Yeah.
Is this not the second longest running car outside of the 911? Or is it actually longer than the 911?
What was the 911 was 60s to now, so it's like 40 years. No, it's definitely the Beetle.
Yeah. So this is the longest running car is now being canceled.
And it has such fascinating origins.
Was it not canceled for a period of time, though, prior to the one that was in the 90s? Like the really, really ugly one?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So it'll be back.
You can't kill Beetle.
No, it'll... Yeah.
like a-
it's
it's not
a,
re-
it's a cult following.
Yeah. I mean,
It's like if the DeLorean had been going for like 40 or 50 years before they killed it.
yeah. But the Beetle just has the most amazing history of any car.
I would totally... Here's the other thing. So, because the values aren't actually that drastically different, if I were to purchase a Mark 6 GTI or a Beetle, I would go for the Beetle every day of the week.
Really?
Yeah, because I think it's a cooler looking car when done right. Stock for stock, it's terrible in comparison as
like
far as
it.
looks goes. But it's actually a cool looking car when it's done right. You can get like the old fashioned kind of hubcap style wheels on it, lower it,
They're sort of
put some meaty tires on it.
fashionable, I guess.
Yeah, but not even fashionable. Like you just make them look different and cool, and it's like that's
They're
the thing.
more aerodynamic.
Yeah, you got that going for you.
That's why they use them in rallycross.
Oh, that's true. I didn't.
That's
even
the
think about
real
that. Yeah,
reason
okay.
they use them in rallycross.
Yeah, it makes
because
sense.
they had slightly better aerodynamics than the hatchbacks.
Makes sense. Okay, I'm done with the Beetle. Are you done with the Beetle?
No, I mean, you probably know this, but I just think it's fascinating that, this was Hitler's vision for a people's car that Ferdinand Porsche designed.
Right.
And this car basically led to the 356
Yeah.
and eventually the 911. And
Right.
also
Through osmosis, essentially. Yeah.
went from the Nazi regime's people's car. From that, it became a symbol of peace and hippies in like the 60s and 70s.
Yep.
And then went to like some fashion accessory.
All meanwhile surviving the downfall of Germany.
Yeah. It's so weird when you look back and see how many things were affected by this car.
Yeah.
And it was all Hitler's idea of a people's car.
They really missed the ball by not making this like a hybrid competitor to the Prius. Could you imagine how much more of a statement
That'd
you
be
could make?
crazy.
Think
about that. That's
you
so
messed
fascinating.
up, Volkswagen. You messed up because that would have. Who wouldn't want to drive a Beetle instead of a Prius? You're making a statement either way.
Yeah. It's true, actually.
The problem with the Honda Insight is that it wasn't the Prius. Everybody knew what the Prius was.
Yeah.
Even though the Honda Insight did the exact same things, nobody knew what that was. So they looked at the Prius. They're like, I drive a Prius. You're like, oh wow, you're good. Good for you. You're good for the environment.
Yep.
Even though you're not. It's
Yeah.
the batteries, but that's. We won't dive into that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say we'll dive into that some other time. No, we won't. So last article here by Brian Silvestro, one of the list articles that we've read before. Not this particular article, but the list style of articles. 17 of the best sports cars of the 1980s.
Who picked this number?
I think.
That's
So normally these are crowdsourced articles. So what he'll do is he'll post
Yeah, but
something
like-
saying come up with them. And I think what he does is he just goes through all of the mentions.
see which ones are worth
And
telling people about.
Yeah, he
and-
lists a whole. He picks those, and then maybe I would imagine he probably throws one or two in of his own. I don't know, but because they're always different numbers.
Yeah. All right.
We've seen 12.
What's number
before, stuff
17?
like that. It's not in any particular
Oh,
order.
that's right. That's right.
It's just a number. So number 1, Toyota Supra Mark III. The early Supras seem to get overshadowed by the legendary Mark IV model, but really, they shouldn't. The Mark IIIs just ooze 80s coolness, right down to the square pop-up headlights. This clean turbo model is for sale for $13,500 right now. The problem I have is not the cool factor, it's the sports car. Is it a sports car?
No, I don't think so.
It's a 2-door.
It's just
Turbo,
a coupe.
4-cylinder. Yeah, I mean, is it?
They
let me
do
put it this
nothing
way.
for me.
Well, they do more for me than a 240, which is what I'm getting to. If the
Yeah.
240's on this list, then I get the Mark III. If the 240's not on this list, then the Mark III doesn't belong on there.
Yeah, I agree.
Because one is you can't
It's
say
just
one's
sort
a
of
sports car and the other isn't.
Big. I don't. It's just nothing. There's nothing about it that's
the
interesting
problem
to
is
me.
saying this car is like a sports car. I think does this not have a back seat?
I think so.
I think it does. So saying this is a sports car is like saying that a 3 Series BMW is a sports car.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a base.
Even a 1 Series.
Yeah.
Or, well, now I guess it's now a 2 Series. But I still wouldn't call that really a sports car.
No.
It's just a coupe.
Yeah.
It's a quick coupe.
Little touring car, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, number 2 on the list. Wow. Not what I expected. Porsche 959.
Whoa.
It is
What
a sports
was the
car.
title of this?
17 of the best sports cars of the 1980s.
I was imagining like to me a sports car is not a supercar. Those are different things to me.
The 959 was Porsche's most technically advanced car ever, featuring groundbreaking tech like tire pressure monitoring systems, super advanced all-wheel drive system, and Kevlar composite body panels. With a top speed of 197 miles an hour, it was the fastest production car in the world at the time of its release.
So let's say right now that the Supra no longer belongs on this list. It should not be mentioned on any list with the 959.
I'm literally waiting. I'm waiting to click and see if the F40 pops up because you know it's going to be on this
Yeah,
list. If
exactly.
the 959 is. And, no, okay. The BMW Z1. The Z1 wasn't sold in America when it was new, and that's a shame. The unique wedge look and ultra-cool sliding doors made it one of the coolest cars to come out of Germany in the late 80s.
Cool's a
It's
relative term.
It's a stupid car. The only reason this car is cool is because of the sliding doors.
Yeah,
if it
that's
didn't
it.
have the sliding, it's like I remember when I was must have been high school, and everybody had flip phones, right? That was the thing. Nobody had an iPhone or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody had their flip phones. I had a slide phone. I thought that was cool. Like I can answer my phone with it shut still. You can't do that with your flip phone. It's the same thing. It's not any more practical. It's not any more reasonable to have. It's not cooler in any way, shape, or form other than it does something different. This just happens to have slide doors. I'm not making the correlation because they both slide. I'm just saying it's a slightly different than normal thing. It's a contrarian as a car.
Yes.
Okay. Number 4.
944.
Hey, Porsche 944. The 944 is an evolution of Porsche's entry-level front-engine 924, which was released in the mid-'70s. The 944 perfected the platform, giving the car real power and more comfort features. This one can be yours for just $4,000. No, that one cannot. That's a turbo. That's a turbo photographed, right? That is no. That's you. No,
You could probably find one for around that.
not running.
No?
Not in that color either.
Hmm.
No chance. Still the coolest car on this list. I don't care what else comes up.
Jesus.
Sports car is a loose name. Chevrolet Camaro IROC Z.
Hey, some of these are actually kind of cool. I think it
It's
might have
not
been
a sports car though.
No. It might have been the IROC Z's though. They did some homologation special.
They did. Yes, you are correct. So the IROC Z was introduced as an upgrade package to the Z28 at the time, and came with a bunch of suspension improvements as well as port injection and unique wheels. Oh, let's not forget those incredibly 80s door decals. The super clean example, complete with the Camaro pattern cloth seats, is for sale for $15,500
Wow.
for that thing. For
Wow.
God.
That's
Okay.
crazy.
I have a hard time with this. But BMW M3 E30. Some enthusiasts consider the E30 generation M3 to be the greatest driver's car ever made. It was BMW's first M-built 3 Series, sporting high-revving 4-cylinder engine making nearly 200 horsepower and a balanced chassis. In recent years, they've become full-blown collector's cars. This example has nearly 120,000 miles on it, and the seller is asking nearly $48,000.
Woo.
Sports car?
We're closer. Closer to sports car. I mean,
I have a
would.
harder time calling this a sports car than I do the Mark III Supra.
No, I don't. I think this is closer. It's more focused than the Supra. The Supra is like a daily driver.
This is the most focused car on the list.
Yeah. To me,
well, with the exception of the 959, but that's not exactly a sports car.
Exactly. That car literally defines supercars.
Yes.
Is the definition of a supercar.
Okay. Oh God.
What the hell is
Number
that?
7, Ford Mustang SVO.
Oh, no, I don't even want to hear it.
Today's
no.
turbo 4-cylinder Mustang wasn't the first to come from Detroit. That honor went to the Mustang SVO thanks to the 2.3-liter turbocharged inline 4. It pushed out over 200 horsepower on par with the V8 model at the time.
Wow.
Stupid and really ugly.
Pointless.
God. No.
What?
Ferrari 288 GTO. Built to compete in Group B Rally, the 288 GTO features a 400 horsepower twin-turbo V8 mounted right behind the driver. It is one of the most desirable Ferraris ever, and for a good reason. This list should not be the... What was it again? The 17 of the best sports cars of the 1980s. This should just be 17 of the coolest cars of the 1980s.
Yeah.
And then drop the IROC and drop the show, because they're both stupid. Or SVO, not show, whatever. I don't care. Screw you Ford fans. Ford doesn't make good cars. Ferrari Testarossa. Of course, the 288 wasn't the only cool car to come out of the Ferraris in the 1980s. The Testarossa, with its pop-up headlights, flat 12 engine, and sweet straight side air inlets, is as 80s as you get. You can own...
Sweet straight side inlets.
Straked.
Oh, okay.
You can own this one right now for just under $115,000. Better hurry, though. Prices are going up.
That's not bad.
These cars should... Okay. I want the Department of Justice in the United States to allow these cars and these cars only, with the purchase of this car, to come with cocaine.
And the Countach.
Okay, and the Countach.
Okay.
I'll grant you that. Just these two cars.
Yep.
If purchased as
only in white.
Right. If purchased as a white car.
Yep, you get a special permit, and if you get caught with cocaine, it's fine.
Yes.
They understand.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only rule I ask of the Department of Justice at the moment.
I think that's fair.
I have other opinions. The Peugeot 205 GTI. What more do you need in a car than what's provided in the 205 GTI? A tiny French hatchback, headlights, the joy of simplicity in motor racing, with nothing distracting the driver from the pure, raw driving experience. This one's just been imported to Maryland and is now for sale. Are hot hatches sports cars?
Let me think about that. I'm trying to think if there's any in history, if there's ever been a hot hatch that was also... No. I think they're usually hot hatches.
Yeah.
Usually.
That's kind of been the... Okay.
Hot hatch, maybe just hatchback. That's sort of fast.
Okay.
Generally, hot hatches, those what they're referred to as.
I can get behind this a little bit. Now, this might be my bias coming in a little bit, but because I've always wanted one. The Toyota Corolla GTS, so also known as the AE86 or the Trueno, any of you that would know this stuff. Made famous by JDM fanatics everywhere, the 86 generation Corolla remains one of the most popular 80s cars around. It was small, simple, and revved to the moon. Sports car, I think. I mean, it's got the back.
Yeah.
I have a hard time calling this a sports car when I don't call the Mark III a sports car. But I'm starting to, as I'm thinking about this list, I'm getting a little more comfortable with calling the Mark III a...
I don't know. I have a hard time with it. One, because it has a live axle.
It's very focused, though.
Is it?
No, it's very light.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's light, but it's really just a normal car that was just a really good platform.
Well, and you can't, from what I understand, you can fully build that engine down to every single thing and get like 150 horsepower.
Yeah, it's not. Which is weird because it's actually a pretty good engine.
Audi Quattro. The original Quattro has been immortalized by the success of the Group B, or of Audi's Group B success. But that signature all-wheel drive and the sound of these roaring 5 cylinders helped a bit too.
That's an Quattro, homie.
Yeah, it is. Sports car.
Rally car.
Yeah, I think he's got the right idea.
He labeled it wrong.
Yeah. This is definitely a sports car. Toyota MR2.
Cool
AW11.
car.
Yes. Cool.
I would have an AW11 for sure. Because especially the supercharged version.
Yeah.
That would be... I just can't imagine... I would... Yeah, it's like a little Lancia 037.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
actually.
Oh, wait. No, was that the supercharged one?
Well,
Yeah, that was the supercharged one. Be in there like,
Yeah.
get like a short ratio box. And
Yeah. The original MR2 checks a whole lot of 80s boxes. It's small, fun, angular, and features pop-up headlights. What more would you want from a sports car? This spotless first-gen example can be yours for just $5,700. Why don't you do that instead of a Miata?
I don't know. I'm thinking about it now. It's got my mind going.
Okay. Add it to your list on your phone.
It's already on there.
Oh, okay. Okay, Nissan Skyline R32 GTR. It's never sold here in America, but now
We're okay. We're stretching it here with 80s. I don't know.
But now with the R32 GTR is legal for import, Americans starting to get in are starting to get in enough fun. With the Trick all-wheel drive system and a turbo straight 6, it's already appreciating classic. This one's for sale for just under $30,000. When
I'm
was
pretty
the
sure that was
R32?
late 80s. I'm checking now.
I'm 88, 89 is what's ringing a bell to me, which is still the 80s technically, but sorry, I had to drink and David's searching things. We'll move on to the next one. Okay, sports car. I agree with this one. Chevrolet Corvette C4. Some people don't like the C4 generation Corvette, but it's hard to see why. Those signature 80s looks combined with the nice V8 powertrain make for a solid wedge of a sports car.
89.
That's when the R32
89.
was? Yeah, that's okay. That's stop it.
I'm gonna
That's
see
it,
a
yeah.
Miata on this list next.
I'm sure you will. You can own this low mileage example for about $13,000 right now.
I actually like the C4.
I do too. I don't.
I
like
think
it
it
as
looks
much.
really cool.
They're really weird looking down the road. Not that every Corvette isn't. Like I get thrown
They're
off.
so
by,
low though.
I get thrown off by Corvettes all the time. By the way, when they're coming the other direction, I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
Every single time.
How much is this? 15.
13,000 for this one.
That's kind of a lot.
But it looks. I mean, this one. This is a low mile example. That's what he says. Actually, he's linked it. eBay. Let's see.
I don't like that
Oh,
version.
that listing ended apparently. Anyway, next. Porsche 911 Carrera 3.2. The 3.2 Carrera started production in 1984, replacing the 911 SC. With retuned suspension, more power, and in later years a bulletproof transmission, it remains one of the most desirable 911s out there. This first-year model just received an engine-out service, and it can be yours. And that's it. It can be yours.
I think the 930 Turbo kind of represents the 80s a little better.
Yeah.
Just saying. You had turbo stickers on the side. It was a turbo. I rest my case.
Volkswagen Mark II GTI. You know, it's funny.
I hate the Mark II.
I think of this car as a hot hatch.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know why.
Me too. I know a lot of people who refer to that as a hot hatch as well.
Anyway, Volkswagen hit the nail on the head when they made the GTI and only improved with the second generation model like the 205 GTI.
Did
It's
they,
simple, fun, and
though?
practical.
Did they improve on it?
They did, actually. It got substantially more horsepower. It was like 20
was it
more
heavier?
horsepower or something like that. No, it was the same weight. Or
Really?
Yeah. My dad had one of these. He said he said it was one of his favorite cars ever. Paid $10,000 brand new for it.
Wow.
And that's it. That was not a good list. It was a good list of cars. It was not a good list. Well, that's an interesting one. 15 unreliable classic cars that we can't help but love. It's not actually a list. It looks like what? Oh no, it is. Okay, there you go. It's just hidden there.
I see an Aston Martin Lagonda, and
Jensen
I agree.
Interceptor, Alfa Romeo GTV6, Aston Martin Lagonda, Citroen SM.
Yep.
Ferrari 308 GTB GTS, Ferrari F330 or 355.
They're not unreliable. They're just expensive to maintain. I feel like that's different.
Jaguar E-Type, Jaguar XJS, Lotus Elan. I'm getting a British theme from this.
Weird.
Lotus Esprit, Lamborghini Mira, Range
British,
Rover,
Italian, British.
Triumph Spitfire, Mazda FBRX7,
Oh.
BMW 850i.
Ooh. There's definitely a strong British presence on that
Yeah,
list.
there was. What was that? One German car, one Japanese car?
Yeah.
I think. Okay, so French, Italian, and English make up that list, with the exception of 2 vehicles off that 15-car list.
The British.
Fair enough. Anyway, David, do you have anything else you would like to add, sir?
No.
Okay, good. I don't really have anything else to add either. Anyway, you guys can go follow us on all of our social media. It is all the same thing now. Finally, it's driversonlyusa.com. our Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all of that is Drivers Only USA. I am going to be looking into putting our podcast audio on YouTube. Just essentially strap on our logo on the front of the video, and then you can go to YouTube to listen to it. So check out this episode, see if maybe it's on YouTube. If it's not, then obviously I haven't gotten that far yet. I am really, really novice when it comes to editing videos. I know there's not really a whole lot of editing that's involved. I've just slapped some audio in a picture, but that means I have to figure out how to do that, and I don't know how to do that yet. So anyway, those of you that are interested, you can obviously go check that out. Send us messages on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, anything like that. Get in touch with us. If you have questions or you have a topic that you want us to talk about, please let us know. This is the time in this episode that we would talk about those kind of things. We could save it, give you guys an hour 15 as an episode as opposed to 45 to 50 minutes, something like that. So if you guys want anything, just talk to us. I know it sounds crazy, right? Okay, anyway. David, one word.
I've been sitting here for like 2 minutes trying to figure out what I was going to say, and I thought of nothing. I'm going to go with Panoz.